Science for Primary 5, Unit 1, Lesson 2, Friction Applications. As you learned in the previous lesson that friction acts in the opposite direction of movement, in this lesson we are going to study advantages of friction, disadvantages of friction, ways to decrease the friction force, friction applications. Advantages of friction. Number 1. The friction between the tires and the ground causes the movement of a car forward. Car brakes that are used to slow down or stop the car depend on friction. Number 3. Friction helps us to control the car speed and to change the car direction. Number 4. You can walk due to the friction between your shoes and the ground. So friction helps us to walk. Without friction, you will slip down. Without friction, you cannot move. And number 5, lighting of matches also need friction, which produces heat to start burning. The disadvantages of friction. Friction between the internal moving parts of machines causes a rise in their temperature. The internal parts of the machines are damaged as a result of the friction force between their moving parts. This friction causes a rise in temperature, which causes damage of machines and wasting of money. So first give reason here. Friction causes damage to most of machines because it raises the temperature of the internal moving parts of machines to more than a certain limit, so machines are damaged. Ways to decrease friction force. We can decrease the friction force by number 1, using lubricants and oil, and number 2, by using ball bearings. Using lubricants and oil, they form a thin layer between the internal moving parts of machines, where this layer reduces or decreases the effect of the friction force. For example, using lubricants and oil in the car engine. And using ball bearings, they are formed of a group of small metallic balls which have a small surfaces, so the friction force between them is almost non-existent. For example, the ball bearings in the axis of car engine and transmit the motion from the car to the wheels. Give reason. Using lubricants, oil and ball bearings in machines. So why we use them? To reduce the friction force between their internal moving parts, to protect machines from damage. The life applications of friction force. Number 1, saving fuel consumption in cars. When a car moves at a high speed, the air resistance increases, so the consumption of fuel increases as well to overcome the high air resistance. Therefore, we shouldn't increase the car speed over a certain limit to reduce the air resistance and decrease the fuel consumption. Give reason. Car drivers shouldn't increase the car speed up to a certain limit to reduce air resistance and the consumption of fuel. And of course, you observe in the road the signs for the limit for cars. So it's written sometimes 60 kilometers. It means that you should decrease the car speed until 60 kilometers per hour, because if you are going to move the car in a high speed, or to increase the speed of the car, it will need more fuel to consume for consumption. Note, modern cars have streamlined shapes to reduce the air resistance. Of course, you can also notice in the new cars the streamlined shapes. Number 2. Rubber tires. When a car moves on a wet road, the friction force between the road and car tires decreases. So, if you are slow driving, when a car moves slowly on a wet road, the tires press on the water and squeeze water out, so the driver can control the vehicle or the car wheels. But if you're driving fast, so when the car moves so fast on a wet road, water is trapped or collected under the tires, as there is no time to squeeze water out, so the driver cannot control the vehicle or the wheel of the car.